Welcome friends. Today we'll be talking about the topic which will be dealing with the 5-year plannings in India, and this is one of the modules that has been given to the UGC E-Pathshala. The aim and objective of this topic is to understand the importance of 5-year plans and their role in making the cities towards urban development in India. Coming to the introduction, urbanization being a worldwide phenomena has affected Indian economy as direct reflection of the structural changes in the economy, with an occupational shift from agriculture to urban-based industry, with increased agricultural performance solely responsible for promoting urbanization. The combined contribution of industry and services to GDP is higher than agriculture, which emphasis on urban areas which are likely to play an increasingly important role with the continuing liberalization of the economy. As per the current scenario, much of the growth of the economy will come from economic activities that are likely to be concentrated in and around existing cities and towns, particularly large cities having transport and telecom linkages with global economy in order to become preferred destinations for investments. The cities need to be supported with improved planning and infrastructure to accommodate growth, better governance and management. Currently, 300 million Indians live in towns and cities. Within 20 to 25 years, another 300 million people will be added to Indian towns and cities. Now, this urban expansion will happen at a speed quite unlike anything that India has seen before. Now, coming to the history of planning in India, it has been the ever inevitable increase in the Indians' urban population under different circumstances, which has been adding enormous stress on its infrastructure systems. Now, this needs proper planning and management in order to sustain and to be able to contribute towards the development of the nation and its growing economy. Therefore, planning is an important component for any country, especially for a developing one like India. In view of prioritizing planning, the Government of India has initiated 5-year plans. The first one would be the post-independence period in 1951. Prior to first 5-year plans, the Indian economy was backward, having increase in population more as compared to the economic growth, with a bad situation of trade as well as industries, which was affecting the per capita income in the country, which was also very low at that point of time. Therefore, planning started in India with a central objective to initiate a process of development which will raise the living standards and open out to the people with new opportunities for a richer and a more varied quality of life. Now, since 1947, the Indian economy has been premised on the concept of planning. The Planning Commission has been entrusted with the responsibility of the creation, development and execution of India's 5-year plans. This has been carried through the 5-year plans developed, executed and monitored by the Planning Commission of India, to be known as Niti Aayog after the dissolution of the Planning Commission in 2014, and its replacement by a think tank called the Niti Aayog, an acronym for National Institution for Transforming India. Now, coming to the pre-independence planning, prior to the independence period, theoretically the efforts included National Planning Committee by the Indian National Congress in 1938, the Bombay Plan and Gandhian Plan in 1944, People's Plan in 1945 by Post-War Reconstruction Committee of Indian Trade Union, and Sarvodaya Plan in 1950 by Jayaprakash Narayan, where steps towards planned economic developments in India were taken. Now, after independence, the assessment of resources included the launch of its first FYP in 1951 under the socialist influence of Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. The process began with setting up of Planning Commission in March 1950 in pursuance of declared objectives of the government in order to promote a rapid rise in the standards of living of the people by efficient exploitation of the resources of the country, and by increasing the production and offering opportunities to all for employment in the service of the community. The Planning Commission was also charged with the responsibility of making assessment of all resources of the country, augmenting deficient resources, formulating plans for the most effective and balanced utilization of resources, and also determining their priorities. The disruptions in 5-year plans happens towards the inception of the first 5-year plan, which began in 1951 with 2 subsequent 5-year plans which was formulated till 1965, when there was a break because of the Indo-Pakistan conflict. Further, 2 successive years of drought, devaluation of the currency, a general rise in prices and erosion of resources disrupted the planning process. And after 3 annual plans between 1966 and 1969, the 4th 5-year plan was started in 1969. The 8th plan could not take off in 1990 due to the fast changing political situation at the center. And the years 1990 to 91 and 91 to 92 were treated as annual plans. The 8th plan was finally launched in the year 1992 after the initiation of the structural adjustment policies. The detailed outline of the 5-year plans in India is as follows. The first plan was during 1951 to 56. It was based on Harrod-Domer model, where influx of refugees, severe food shortage and mounting inflation confronted the country at the onset of the first 5-year plan. Now, this was focused on agriculture, price stability, power and transport. The following irrigation projects were started during that period. This included the Meter Dam, Hirakud Dam, Bhakra Dam. Coming to the second plan, which was during the year 1956 to 61, it was focused on rapid industrialization, heavy and basic industries, while accordingly the agriculture has a lower priority. The second FYP was only moderately successful. The third 5-year plan, which was scheduled between 1961 to 66, it was a thorough failure in reaching the targets due to the unforeseen events. First among those events included the Chinese aggression in 1962, the Indo-Pak War in 1965 and a severe drought during 1965 to 66. Now, these 3-year annual plans from 1966 to 69 euphemistically described as Plan Holiday. The failure of the 3rd-year plan, that of the devaluation of the rupee to boost exports, along with inflationary recession, led to the postponement of the 4th-year plan, the 4th 5-year plan precisely. Prevailing to the crisis in agriculture and serious food shortages, it necessitated the emphasis on agriculture during the annual plans. Now, during these plans, a whole new agricultural strategy was implemented. Now, coming to the 4th plan, which was scheduled between 1969 to 74, the influx of Bangladeshi refugees before and after the year 1971 Indo-Pak War was an important issue, along with the price situation which was deteriorating, the crisis and the proportions, where the plan is being considered as a big failure. Now coming to the fifth plan, which was scheduled between 1974 to 79, after promulgation of emergency in 1975, the emphasis shifted to the implementation of Prime Minister's 20-point program. Now the 5-year plan was relegated to the background, and when Janata Party came to power in 1978, the plan was terminated. Now coming to the sixth plan scheduled between the year 1980 to 85, broadly this could be taken as a success as most of the targets included in this plan were realized. Coming to the seventh plan scheduled between 1985 to the year 1990, the plan was very successful as the economy recorded 6% growth rate against the targeted 5%. During the eighth plan, which was scheduled between the year 1992 to 97, it was postponed by 2 years because of the political uncertainty at the center. The plan undertook drastic policy measures in order to be able to combat the bad economic situation and also to undertake an annual average growth of 5.6% through introduction of fiscal and economic reforms, including liberalization. Now coming to the ninth plan, which was scheduled between the year 1997 to 2002, it assigned priority to agriculture and the rural development with a view to generate adequate, productive employment and eradicate poverty at the same time. Next, coming to the 10th plan, which was scheduled between the year 2002 to 2007, it states in this particular plan, states' role in planning was to be increased with greater involvement of Panchayati Raj institutions. Now, state-wise breakup of targets for growth and social development. South to achieve balanced development of all states. Now coming to the 11th plan, which was scheduled between the year 2007 and 2012, the issue of price stability remained resonating for more than half of the plan period. Further, the inability to pass on the burden on costlier imported oil prices might have constrained the supply of investable funds in the government's hand, which has been caused the 11th plan to perform at the levels below its target. Next, coming to the 12th 5-year plan, which was scheduled between the year 2012 to 17, the priority was implementation of projects in infrastructure, especially in the area of energy, which would require addressing the issue of fuel supply to power stations, financial problems of DISCOMs and clarity in terms of new exploration, needed licensing policy, which was a part of the 12th 5-year plan, and it lays out an ambitious set of government programs which intended to help and to achieve the objective of rapid and inclusive growth. The 5-year plans realizing the roles of cities. Now under this heading we have the 7th plan. The first 5-year plan offered insufficient control over building activity by the state or municipal authorities. It is noteworthy that the problem was seen as a result of proof enforcement of rules and not as that of need to expand the urban land and its services. Interestingly, similar approaches continued until the 6th 5-year plan. It is only in the 7th 5-year plan that the economic importance of cities was noted and realized. This plan in particular observed the urbanization as a phenomena which is a part and parcel of the economic development in general. The provision of urban services such as transportation, communication, water, sanitation and shelter alone is usually and unlikely to be able to simulate large-scale urban development. Therefore, the urban development approaches consist of the following two constituents. The first one is the interaction between the physical and the investment planning, which includes the preparation of regional and sub-regional urban development plans to make the first possible. During the 7th plan, a concentrated effort was made to channelize private industrial investment in the vicinity of small and medium towns so that the migration of population is diverted to these from going to the metropolises. The same principle should be applied to public sector investment through urbanization was seen as part of economic development, and agglomeration benefits were also recognized. Migration to large cities was sought to be diverted to small and medium towns. The notion of helping small and medium towns to absorb migration and restrict size of large cities has survived from the 7th 5-year plan onwards. However, in its present version of Urban Infrastructure Development Scheme for Small and Medium Towns, the UID-SSMT, the objective of restraining growth of large cities is not explicitly mentioned. Further, under the 11th plan, the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewable Mission, also known as JNNURM, is the major initiative taken under this plan. The objectives of the scheme included empowerment of urban local bodies, which are also referred as ULBs. These ULBs are classified into 4 major categories: municipal corporations, municipalities including municipal council, municipal board, municipal committee, town area committees, notified area committees. Now, India during 2010 and 11 has planned a holistic development of cities, making them inclusive. This scheme has mandated preparation of the following. First is the City Development Plan, also known as CDP. This offered limited consideration of socio-economic aspects and the exclusion of peri-urban areas where fast growth was taking place. This has further limited the adequacy of such planning for guiding the emergent needs of the city. The second under this would be the set of urban reforms at state and municipal levels. This includes the JNNURM renewed the focus on urban renewal and giving impetus to many urban reforms. Central allocation of approximately Rs 66,085 crore led to the overall commitment of the investment, which was approximately around 1 crore under this scheme. Thus, despite of some good examples in some cities, the overall progress in improving service delivery standards has been unsatisfactory so far. Further, under the JNNURM, the following initiatives have been executed. The first one would be the 21 projects including the bus rapid transit system, also known as BRT, with an approved cost of approximately 5,000 crores were sanctioned, giving a major boost to the public transportation system. Another 123 projects, which included roads, flyovers, ROBs and parking projects with an approved cost of approximately Rs 10,000 crores were sanctioned for traffic improvement and parking. Next it included the urban infrastructure and governance for making India a slum-free country. Pilot phase of Rajiv Awas Yojana, also known as RAY, was launched in 2011. The scheme has a progressive architecture which includes in situ rehabilitation of slums and legislation to provide property rights to slum dwellers. Slum rehabilitation in cities not covered under RAY project has prioritized overall development. The Swarna Jayanti Sahari Rozgar Yojana, designed to enable urban poor to gain full employment. Under this scheme, 3,941 towns have been covered and an assistance of approximately 3,000 crores has been released. The 12th plan has the objective which has more inclusive, sustainable urban growth with special emphasis over environmental sustainability of Indian cities. It aimed towards all cities to become efficient in using available resources, particularly energy, water and land, while preserving and fostering their cultural and historical heritage. In order to benefit from the tourism potential of their heritage and natural endowments. Therefore, cities must provide world-class infrastructure and services at affordable cost to give a competitive edge to the economic activities they host. As an overriding principle, people should be brought to the heart of the urban agenda, implying that all citizens have access to basic services of clean water, sanitization, sewage, solid waste management, urban road infrastructure, further with safe and affordable public transportation systems, affordable housing, and a clean and healthy environment. Besides creating avenues for gainful employment, the Indian cities should also meet the rising aspirations of people for a better quality of life. The strategy for the 12th five-year plan intentionally focused on strengthening the 5 enablers for urbanization, which are as follows. The first one would be the governance, planning, financing, capacity building and innovation. To strengthen the urban governance frame, it is proposed to adopt the following strategies during the 12th five-year plan period. The first one is to achieve convergence at the central government level, recommended the merger of the Ministry of Urban Development with that of the Housing and Urban, an overarching guiding principle for the 12th plan. Setting up of a suitable urban regulator at the state level must be a priority. Further, to strengthen the Unified Metropolitan Transport Authority, also known as UMTA, as recommended by the Second Administrative Reforms Commission. All the million-plus metropolitan areas should set up an UMTA to develop and implement city-level transportation plans with integrated spatial and land use plans for the cities. E-governance must be mandatory reform under the renewed JNNURM, and its implementation should be required in all cities. Receiving assistance under the capacity building component of the mission. City development plan and financial plans. Now, every city or town should mandatorily draw a development plan, also known as the CDP, by taking at least a 10 years perspective. The plan should take into account a city's natural endowments and its economic potential in order to promote clean and a green city. It should specifically provide for the following: strategic densification, especially along mass transit corridors with mixed land use. City mobility plan with special emphasis of making cities safe for vulnerable groups including women and children. Pedestrian and cyclist. Urban poverty reduction strategy and inclusionary zoning including old age homes, orphanages, working hostels, night shelters and so on. City sewerage and sanitation plan. City water plan. Economic and commercial activity plan. Infrastructure plan. Affordable housing plan. Environment conservation plan. And to add on the list, the plan for peri-urban areas. JNNURM, under JNNURM1, a mission city approach was followed. About 70% of the central assistance was provided to 65 mission cities. In the 12th plan, adequate attention was also paid to encourage the medium and small town to realize their full economic potential. The limited concept of mission cities is dispensed under JNNURM2 with the idea for all cities to become eligible for participation, with a fair system for selection of cities to be covered under the program. Further, it was considered that NULM for making cities engines of inclusive growth, in addition to launching of an improved JNNURM2 and RAY, the National Urban Livelihood Mission, also known as NULM, scheme have been taken up under the 12th plan. Now this entails revamping the guidelines of Swarna Jayanti Sahari Rozgar Yojana and further enhancing its scope. Its basic thrust would be to build capacities and skills in sectors that have growing employment opportunities and are relevant to local socio-economic conditions. Within the umbrella of NULM, the following two subcomponents would be launched. First one would be the subcomponent for national scheme for support to street vendors. Second subcomponent would be for the assistance to the states for provision of shelters. Now coming to the major initiatives towards the urban planning in India. In India's future urbanization, irrespective of the definition of the large cities, whether million plus, metropolitan agglomeration or megacities, much of the growth will be taking place on the peripheries around these cities as well as densification of some of the existing cities. The analysis of urbanization pattern and projections for the next 20 years is also indicative of the fact that bulk of the urban population will be living in metropolitan regions. Now this does not mean that the main cities within these regions will continue to grow at the same pace. In fact, in some cases, central city growth may decline, but in the peripheries there will be new growth. Agglomerations covering several municipal jurisdictions will emerge as a distinct feature of India's urbanization. These factors will also cause the existing urban agglomeration to become bigger. Agricultural mandi towns, new industrial centers and service activities located in the metropolitan regions will coalesce. Most of these agglomerations will grow along transport corridors. But the pattern of growth will not be continuous and will have some characteristics which will be as follows. Much of the urban growth will be along essentially transport corridors and unrestrained by municipal jurisdictions. The distinction between urban and rural will get blurred. The corridors will be multinodal, but these nodes will not be as well connected functionally as they would be needed. Within these corridors, metropolitan nodes will be further densified. For example, Bangalore. In some cities, the peripheries may densify, for example, Calcutta. In some corridors, growth will be continuous, but in many, it will be discontinuous and sparse with creeping urban sprawl, wasting land and other resources in the process. The infrastructure and environmental implications will require careful management. The organizational framework required for governance will be very different than what we have at present, limited as it is within a city municipality model. Over the last couple of decades, the Indian national government has also begun to develop specific types of industrial and economic development policies that have led to the emergence of different urban forms. These include the development of special economic zones, also referred as SEZs, the National Investment and Manufacturing Zones, referred as NIMZs, and new towns in and around existing urban regions that focus on specific types of industrial and economic activities. The most recent and perhaps one of the most ambitious strategies is the push to develop industrial corridors between major Indian cities, which the Indian national government has embraced as a key development strategy. Now, explaining the SEZ, the Government of India announced the Special Economic Zone policy in the year 2000, which was followed by the passage of the SEZ Act in 2005. The main objectives of the Act were to attract domestic as well as foreign investment, promote exports, create employment, and deploy infrastructure. The assumption was that the SEZs would act as engines of growth by triggering a large flow of investment for building infrastructure and productive capacity, leading to the generation of additional economic activity and employment opportunities. As of 2014, there are 196 operational social economic zones in India. While particular instances of social economic zones have been successful on the whole, they did not generate the anticipated levels of output, investment, exports, and employment. Urban corridors. Referring from the year 1988, the National Commission on Urbanization has identified a total of 329 urban centers all over the country as the generators of economic momentum, referred as the GEMs, where development activities should converge. The Commission also identified 49 spatial priority urban regions known as the spurs, and a spur was not merely a confirmation of the observed trends of growth, but it was based on the Commission's assessment of growth potential and optimizing investments and also the opportunities already in that particular region. A subsequent study titled Indian Urban Corridors, based on 1991 census by the National Atlas and Thematic Mapping Organization, identified a set of 25 urban corridors at the country level. In the year 2014, India has also recognized the potential of urban corridors based on the international examples from China, Japan, and the United States by launching specific initiatives to develop several of them to boost the economic growth and the expansion of surrounding second-tier Indian cities with the liberalizations of economic policies to favor major cities and their peripheries as locations for investment in manufacturing and infrastructure. Now, this emerges with a spectacular growth along these corridors. For example, since the year 2007, the government has been working with Japanese investors to build the Delhi-Mumbai Economic Corridor. The Delhi-Mumbai corridor is estimated to attract a total of 52% of FDI in India, and its total cost is expected to reach as much as $90 billion. However, as of the year 2014, it is still years away from completion. The emerging corridors includes the following corridors of growth which stand out prominently in the 5 states, which includes Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, as covered by the CPR study. The percentages of the state's urban population which are likely to be located in these corridors are also indicated in the table that will be provided to you. The current perspective of urbanization and urban planning in India includes the smart city vision. Now, this is the current terminology which has been used for the urban settlements that exploit technology to offer more structured and hospitable living conditions for residents with infrastructure aimed at better management of energy, resources, water, transportation and traffic, safety and security. Smart cities is the catchphrase of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government laying the groundwork for his ambitious program aimed at setting up 100 such urban settlements nationwide. Modi's vision for advanced cities that benefit from the latest technology has finally begun to take shape, with the Ministry of Urban Development identifying almost all the locations where they will be built, as well as existing cities that are to be remodeled on these lines. Further describing the scheme, the officials of the Urban Development Ministry says that they plan to set up 7 smart cities each in Gujarat, Kerala, Rajasthan and the state of Karnataka. The Prime Minister's constituency, Varanasi, is also added among the 6 cities identified. Further, Uttar Pradesh is added for the smart makeover, and the government has set 2019 as the deadline for the delivery of the first 3 smart cities, all of which will be built as part of the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor. Overall, 7 smart cities will be set up between Delhi and Mumbai under the DMIC project, which is being built in partnership with the government of Japan. There are at least 3 more industrial corridors along which new cities are being built, which includes Amritsar to Kolkata, Bangalore to Chennai and Chennai to Visakhapatnam. Besides, states have been asked to identify cities along the Amritsar-Kolkata corridor, promising to improve infrastructure, enabling exports and generating employment while linking fast-growing regions to relatively poor regions. With the rising concern over the impact of rapid urban development on our natural inbuilt environment, the concept of sustainable development has been gaining increasing emphasis with the heightened awareness and recently articulated vision of the Government of India to adopt Smart Cities Vision, an initiative towards the process of transformation of Indian cities. The government is not prescribing any particular model to be adopted by the smart cities. The approach is not one size fits all. Each city has to formulate its own concept, vision, mission and plan proposal for a smart city that is appropriate to its local context, resources and levels of ambition. Accordingly, they have to choose their model of smart city and answer the question that what kind of smart city do they want. For this, cities will prepare their smart city proposal containing the vision, plan for mobilization and resources and intended outcomes in terms of infrastructure upgradation and smart applications. And with this, we would end the 5-year planning assessment for the FYPs in India, and thank you all.